the Lithuanian ghettos, those are all going to be armed. So number 2 is Abba Kovner and Jürgen Stroop quotes. That is going to be armed. If you have number 1, image of Max Weilheimer, he's lighting Hanukkah candles. Yeah, so if it's just the action, it would probably be spiritual. If you're looking at the fact that there was an image taken of this, you probably could have taken it cultural resistance. Okay, you have testimony from Bart Stern, and Clayton had a really gross, like a visceral reaction to this. Like that was really, yeah. Clayton, what did you think this testimony was? Like, what was he really talking about?
You mean what, like, how it will?
Yeah. So, how did you classify it, and how did you like rationalize it?
I thought that it was a spiritual resistance, because even though that they took their friends and family and hung them up and burned them alive for Hanukkah, and they mocked their religion, they still kept their religion even afterwards when it was all over, and they still had the image of their friends and family burning. Like, every year you have Hanukkah, so you're going to think about that every year, and you're still going to practice it.
And he says, and we were in small groups with lookout posts, hundreds gathering to say the prayers and the blessing of Hanukkah, of the miracle of Hanukkah. We really did not give up. Right? So even in the face of that trauma, they still kept their faith. You have the last letter from Mordecai Anielewicz. Mordecai Anielewicz was the leader of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. And so his last letter, they were captured and killed by Nazis. So that's going to be armed. David Sierra-Kowiak, which I probably need to tell you in a second, kind of the connection between Tulsa and David Sierra-Kowiak. I really thought that it was important to give you sections of his diary, because Anne Frank is normally the one that everyone thinks of, like the Holocaust diarist. David Sierra-Kowiak was prolific in his writings as well, and he also perished. The Tulsa connection is Eva Unterman is a Holocaust survivor who lives in Tulsa, and she is actually speaking Thursday night and telling her story. She was a child survivor of the Holocaust, and so our Yom HaShoah means Holocaust Remembrance, and we have this every year. She's telling her story about how she survived in the Lodz Ghetto. She actually knew David Sierra-Kowiak before he died, because she was a little younger, I think he was 14, 15, and she remembers seeing him in the ghetto, and she's seen pictures of him, and she's like, that was him. So our Tulsa connection to David Sierra-Kowiak, I think, is important. He was the diarist, so if it's writing, it's probably cultural. You have a picture of, it says, image of Jewish man praying in a ghetto. So if it's the action, it's going to be spiritual. If we're talking about the actual picture taking, then it's going to be cultural. You had a song. So Song of My People, the Jewish partisan song. It could be both, actually, armed or cultural, because it's partisans. So partisans are the Bielskis. They're the ones who are fighting armed resistance. And this song that they wrote, which is cultural, is inspiring them to go fight. Right? So it could be either one. Here you have a painting. So that's going to be cultural. And then the last one is Mendel Grossman. He was the secret photographer of the Lodz Ghetto, and you had a couple of different photographs there. So that's going to be cultural. Okay. You can leave those handouts on the table, and I'll come get them from you. But let's kind of debrief. What did you think about the lesson? I realize that you are not teachers, but you are learners, and I think it's important to have feedback within a lesson. What do you think? Let's start with what you think went well. What did you like about this lesson and the way that it was created, what you did, any positive feedback, and then we'll get into that stuff.
I like that we were able to discuss between the groups on what we thought, just so it was easier to come up with it.
Okay, so group collaboration, not only within your group, but between groups. Okay.
Differentiating between the types of resistance, because most people, like we clearly all were just thinking physical whenever we first started it.
Okay. Okay. Any other things that you thought went well with the lesson, or that you really enjoyed?
I like that it made me think about it. Why was it not necessarily with the spiritual and cultural ones? I felt like I was thinking about it a lot more as just opposed to just being it's a big thing.
Right, and the captions probably helped too, kind of telling and giving you a name, giving you some sort of context, well, this was in a ghetto, or this was in camp somewhere. That's
I
probably.
like that we had to, read the different little articles instead of it all being on a PowerPoint.
Yeah, I like that. Like, we used to get,
Internet.
Honestly, if it was like on PowerPoint, I probably wouldn't have paid that. I mean, I would have paid attention, but I wouldn't have taken all the information as to sitting down and reading each article. I mean, you have to take it in and understand it.
Okay, I think that's a very important aspect of good teaching, is having student-based things, right, and not just having the teacher be like a source of information. We tried very hard to give you a variety of artifacts to look at, so we needed paintings. The testimonies that you read were actually supposed to be watched, but because of the technology set up in here, it just didn't work. And so we would have that technology aspect, actual like historical context with readings, right, real letters. So we really, song lyrics, we really tried to give you a variety of artifacts. Do you think that you would have, so if you were doing, I don't know, you would learn about this, or maybe you were assigned a research project, do you think that you would have had access to all of these different sources if you were to do it on your own?
I think it would be a lot harder to search for it. I mean, you do have a museum down in Tulsa, you can go down to and look at research there, but it'd just be harder, I think, because you did the work to put all this stuff together.
More reliability and credibility.
And the majority of these artifacts come from the Holocaust Museum's website and archives. So you know that the information that you're getting is vetted and not biased, and we know actually where it came from. Okay, so any other good things before we move on to critiques and how to make it better? Okay, so
Survey.
huh?
I like this little survey thing.
You like the survey? Okay, we're going to get to that in a second. That's going to be the last thing that you do. So you like the survey. Maybe you're going to see how your perspectives have changed, right, from pre to post after you've moved through the learning activity. Okay, so how would you make this better?
as far as lesson plan goes, I think, like, for me, like, as a student, for, like, me learning things and everything, I think that, yes, the variety of, like, all these different types of, like, art, music, the testimonies and everything were really good to take in, but I feel like I personally would have had a little bit less and more in-depth, like maybe group some of the paintings together where it's not just like this painting, but like do more art. That way I could like go more in-depth on certain other things like the physical uprisings and stuff like that, learning more details than just hearing like basically the overview.
Okay, so you wanted, well, and the problem with that is we've got time stations, right? So this would really be kind of maybe a jumping off activity for you to go into a deeper research project on your own where you could go deeper into the Warsaw Ghetto. But I think that, and I really tried to give you a picture at each station and like a lengthier article and then something to read that was a little shorter just for time's sake. That's kind of what I was thinking in my mind as a teacher. If I only have 50 minutes to teach this or in a 90-minute block, how can I, do all of this? But I like that suggestion. That's good. What other critiques, something to make this better?
You definitely need to do 10-15 minutes at each station.
You think so?
Yeah, I was way too fast. I couldn't, I was skimming over things, like just trying to get the gist of them.
Okay.
So the time was important.
So we think 10 to 15 minutes, and that's standard for the high schoolers who are, going, and middle schoolers who are going to be doing this in the classroom. I just thought since, for time-wise, we could maybe do 5 or 7, but that's good. Good to know. We'll keep that. What else? Is it a good idea to come together and kind of introduce the types of resistance to you first?
Yes.
And even talk about the contemporary examples and have you think of like modern examples so you can make that resistance connection? Okay, good feedback.
Maybe go into more depth of cultural and spiritual, because how they're kind of the same. Maybe go into more depth about each one, so
Or how they're different.
students understand, this one's this one and this one, like what she said, go into more depth so they have a better understanding of which is which.
And why did it kind of be the same?
Okay, and I think maybe I didn't want to do that thing because I wanted you to struggle with this a little bit. Like, that's where you learn, in the struggle, right? So I wanted you to have to work out, and eventually you came to this idea, like, Well, it could be both, and as long as I can justify that, that's the whole point, like critical thinking. My group actually had this struggle, because 2 other people have taught this already, that their students struggled with the difference between spiritual and cultural. And so we decided to group it together, right? I think that there's a big difference between the 2.
Well, there's could be the whole practice of, the whole one point of the aspect is you're doing like the weddings and stuff, and you're like doing all the visual stuff, and then there's the other side where you're actually practicing your religion.
Okay.
You mean like an American businessman that goes and eats hamburgers all the time, has the normal American life, but then has one of the prayers and lays out, 5 times a day to pray
Yeah.
for like the Muslim religion? Is that what you mean? That distinction?
Yeah, well, I mean, to me, cultural and spiritual are separate, but if you think about it, religion or spirituality is one aspect of culture, right? So maybe,
Yeah, I see.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So maybe we do need to fuse the 2 together and just call it spiritual or cultural,
Well,
right? But I think it's important to see the
I feel like
difference.
it's very important to see the difference, because if you just say,
Prefer it to be different, like, I would prefer them to be separate, because even though they, like, one does branch from the other, like, it's not necessarily one strict, like, definition.
I feel like spiritual is more of like your individual thing, like, because cultural is like you're grouped and it's passed down to you kind of, and like spiritual is like your choice, most like you're choosing to like participate in it, not just like have it as part of who you are.
And so not all cultures, was it like that violin picture, that wasn't religious.
Right, yeah, you're right, so we maybe,
Explicit example.
and that's how I think of it too, but what we were running into as we were teaching this lesson before is high school students were having a hard time differentiating between the 2, and you guys kind of experienced it too, like, I'm not really sure, but I think it's,
like it's a subgroup, more specific group. Like cultural is broad and religious is more specific.
Well, yeah, I feel like most spiritual things will fall into some level of like a cultural aspect, because like anything spiritual will play into like some form of bigger culture, but I feel like not everything cultural has to be
correct,
like
you're right.
where you find spiritual things, you're most likely going to find cultural things, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to find spiritual things with just cultural things.
And there's also the idea of semantics between spiritual and religious, right? Because,
Spiritual
like,
experience as opposed to religious experience.
exactly. So maybe we just need to be precise in our language, and that is one of the guidelines of the Holocaust Museum whenever you're teaching about things, be really precise with what you say. Yeah. Okay, anything else? Okay, so what I would like you to do, I'm going to come around and take up your handouts. If you can move to the post survey at the bottom and go ahead and fill that out. Since you didn't do it free, that's fine. Yeah. You don't have to do that.
Can I stop recording?